mother, it's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just a trio of feathery brethren weathering any season to see the Eagles eating teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia, Bo, Sheil, and Zach kicking it cooler than 3 penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some Birds with Friends. The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some Birds with Friends. Bo, Sheil, and Zach coming at you with stats and things flapping their wings on Birds with Friends.
All I know is Zach said he has a game where Sheil don't read both 7,000 and I said I'm in. Let's go. Let's do it.
And so the purpose
that's what I needed was not to get at least one more reader. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Birds with Friends on a Tuesday afternoon. Much to discuss for the Eagles as they make an important signing at wide receiver. They bring back Fletcher Cox. They sign Anthony Harris. He's back in town. We've got a lot to talk about. Howie Roseman's contract extension. We will dive into all of that with Zach Berman and Sheil Kapadia. But before we do that, we must, for the very first time, introduce Marissa Dunn. Marissa, how are you doing?
I am so excited to be back. I missed you guys a lot. I tried to listen to most of the pods while I was gone.
That's disgusting.
I could not stop laughing at the Brides with Friends pod, Bride with Friends. But it was an amazing time off, but I'm excited to be back. There's been a lot going on, and I can't wait to get rolling.
I mean, you can't actually be excited to be back from your honeymoon, but
I mean, yes,
sure you can.
Our honeymoon was great.
Who did you miss the most of the three of us? What do you say?
I love all my children.
Well said. Good answer.
All the same. But yeah, we had a great time. We went to Maui. It was so everyone who wants to know where we went on our honeymoon, we went to Maui. It was beautiful. And yeah, we did snorkeling, kayaking, all that fun stuff. Sat by the pool. But yeah, it was great.
He got a new contract when he was there.
Yeah. Yes, on our way to snorkel and kayak because we were 5 hours behind. Michael's agent texted him and said he had been tendered, and that was something that he was expecting, hopefully. But you know, every news in this business is worth celebrating. And we were in the parking lot actually leaving, and I was like, "Oh, give me a hug." And he was like, you know, like trying to be all cool about it, like, you know. But he did celebrate at breakfast with an extra plate at the buffet. That was his celebration.
That's an offensive lineman celebration.
Yes, he's like, you know what? This is my celebration. I'm going to allow myself to go up for another plate.
Sends that in the group text, and they all nod approvingly, right?
Yeah. So, and when we went snorkeling, I think this is a big accomplishment that I would like to share. When we went kayaking, we did not flip the kayak. So picture this, Michael on the back of the kayak and me on the front. That's 315 pounds in the back.
Yeah, how is that possible that it didn't flip?
I was like airborne in the front, and he's yelling at me. I'm like, I can barely reach the water. Like, I'm literally like out of the water over here. But we did not flip. We made it successfully. We were a little slow. But yeah, it was very fun. Cool activity.
The kayaking can get intense, right? Because you got to be like aligned there with your kayak strokes. I mean, listen, I'm not an outdoorsman. I've done this like twice in my life, but I remember both times there were some intense conversations about how you got to be moving at the at the same
great
pace, or else
test.
It doesn't work, right? Yeah.
Yeah, great marriage
I was
test.
right about
like
that.
we, one of us was going one way, the other was going the other way. You know, there was a few words exchanged, but I mean, the fact that I thought we were for sure going in the water. Like, I didn't even bring my phone. I was like, this is totally flipping. Like, there's no chance. And we did it successfully, so I'm very proud of us.
Great palindrome kayak.
Yes.
Prefer race car.
Dynamite drop in right there.
Yeah. Sheil, how are you?
I mean, look at me. You don't have to go with a how are we. Just had a whole opening segment. Yeah, we can move on. I'm fine.
Okay. Well, I think we'll dip into some more wedding talk towards the end. We can get Marissa's thoughts on our review of the wedding. But before we do that, there's plenty of news to get to on the Eagles front, so we will send it over to the stone cold newsman himself, Zach Berman.
Since the three of us last spoke on Birds with Friends,
Straight into it.
in no particular order of importance, the Eagles cut Fletcher Cox, then re-signed Fletcher Cox. They re-signed Anthony Harris and Boston Scott. They signed Zach Pascal, a Nick Sirianni favorite. Deshaun Watson was traded to the Cleveland Browns, so this was not a situation where he went to his hometown or a place in the South where the Eagles would be categorically eliminated. And Howie Roseman signed a 3-year contract extension. So I imagine there were more signings elsewhere that are tangentially related to the Eagles, but as far as the big Eagles news, that would cover it.
Now, for the audio listeners, the stinger there was not the Stone Cold Newsman, as you may have recognized. What you may not have seen, or what you would not have seen, is that was an animation for Happy Birthday, Zach.
Thank you.
And a couple things on this front. One, I texted Sheil and Marissa last night at 10:30 or something like that, and I said, "Oh, I just saw it's Zach's birthday tomorrow. What can we do to surprise him on the show?" And Marissa, what was your response?
I'm currently working on an animation as we
goodness.
speak.
True sicko.
True
Listening
sicko.
to the show on the honeymoon and already making a happy birthday animation before we had mentioned it. The other thing I would like to say, Zach and I have spoken several times today. We were on a meeting together, and I was no-selling it. I didn't say happy birthday because I didn't want him to know that I knew. I wanted to keep the surprise. But Zach, happy birthday.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Happy
I know
birthday,
it.
Zach.
Thank you, Marissa.
I'm
Thank
very
you.
impressed that you just kept it straight-faced and went straight into the news.
You know, I love Emily, but when she put that out there last night, I was like, why is that necessary? The world doesn't need to know. But
I
nonetheless,
already messaged her the little video. I said, we have a surprise for Zach
Oh,
today."
goodness.
Maybe she'll add that to her story, too.
Well, thank you. And I'm sorry for my voice. I'm on the fourth quarter of a cold here. So
Or somebody had a big birthday celebration last night, but hey,
No,
we don't
not
tell
last
us.
no, I had a speaking thing last night. Tonight I'm going out to dinner.
What was the speaking thing you had last night,
Double
Zach?
I spoke to a class at NYU.
Oh,
So, actually spoke a lot about this podcast, and I used Sheil's insight to enlighten the students. Which
what was my insight?
I was talking about
Never fall in
effective
love.
podcasting, and I said that what I didn't realize was with so many options in podcasting, a lot of people aren't listening to you for, say, like the news you're providing or the content they're providing. It's do they enjoy hanging out with this group of people for X amount of time, 15, 30, 90 minutes sometimes, right? So I said chemistry is very important in doing a podcast.
I would just like to close this circle here. We had Marissa just saying where she went on her honeymoon, referencing Zach not wanting to say where he went, which he came clean was about keeping like privacy concerns. And on the birthday front, we were having our meeting this morning, and our editor was talking about how Dane Brugler is having a little bit more trouble this year getting the birth dates from teams because the teams don't list the exact birth dates anymore for potential fear of identity theft. And so I could see the wheels turning in Zach's mind. Oh no, they're gonna say it's my birthday today, and everyone's gonna know when my birthday is.
You know, it's funny you say that because I got locked out of an account recently, and the entry to get back in was
BelichickSaving.com.
was giving your birthday, right? So now everyone who listens knows when my birthday is. Yes.
That's crazy. I've been locked out of every account I've ever signed up for, and the question has never been, "What is your birthday?" That's crazy.
And this is a website that everyone frequents. So
I mean, listeners, let your imagination
No follow-ups.
run wild. We will just leave that there. I was thankful that Eburn put that out there because on my things to do list at the first of each month, I go through the month and write myself a note, birthdays. All right, this person's birthday, and March 1st I had Zeburn's birthday this month ? on there, and I never followed up. It's one of those that just stayed day after day. So I was like, shit. There was a point, I think, maybe 8-10 days ago, I was like, oh, what, did we miss Zach's birthday at some point? I was going to text Bo and ask him, but thankfully we didn't. So now I wrote that down. I can have it for next year, 322.
Zach, so real quick, my brother in critiquing the show said I'm giving too many height jokes, right? Like he says you can do it once in a while, but if you repeat it, it becomes a little much. So I've been more cognizant of that, but I will grant this one. The joke I always gave is this date is also Sean Bradley's birthday. So I said like the dispersion of height, he got all the height for the March 22nd birthdays.
Has there ever been an Eagles signing on your birthday since we're in the middle of like the free agency period that was notable or something? Pulled you away from a party?
There have been like I've flown to a few owners meetings on my birthday, or there was in 2014 it's down in Orlando for the owners meetings on my birthday. 2016 flying to Phoenix maybe. So it's usually free agencies like a week later now than it's been in the past. Typically, this has been the owners meetings week.
Gotcha. All right. Should we talk Fletcher Cox or Zach Pascal first? Where would you guys like to start?
It would have been really funny if he was like, I was 3 years old and the Eagles signed Kurt Govea, and we had to call it off because I was too excited. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
I
couldn't think of a good rando Eagle there.
Fletcher Cox. Who would you like to discuss first?
Let's do Fletcher Cox.
Okay. So the Fletcher Cox saga here, Zach. Why don't you take us through exactly the sequence of events here, because it is bizarre and I feel like hard to understand how they got from point A to point B.
So the Eagles had essentially an option year, a trigger in his contract where if he was on the roster last Friday, he would be guaranteed $18 million this season, right? And so to avoid that, basically they released him Thursday, and they released him and kind of in the back channels we kept hearing that they would like to bring him back. And I admit, when I heard that, I thought, oh, this is kind of team spin. Like if they're not going to guarantee him $18 million today, and they're willing to let him go, and they're willing to take this cap hit. And by the way, it's a post-June 1st designation, so what they were able to do was split this big cap hit over 2 years. There's minimal cap savings in there, but they take part of the hit this year, part of the hit in 2023. They structured the contract for that to happen. But I'm thinking the fact that they're willing to let him go and that they're not going to guarantee him this contract, and given the way last year went, and given that they have Milton Williams, they have 3 first-round picks, it's a good D-line draft, that, all right, this is a franchise icon, maybe they're just moving on from him. And then quickly on Saturday, they agreed to terms. The reported terms are $14 million. So we'll wait to see kind of that full contract. But they just bring him right back. So it's kind of curious that they would be so insistent, if you will, on getting out of that contract, on taking that cap hit, but then be so quick to pay him big money 2 days later.
It makes no sense. Like, logically, it makes no sense. I mean, signing Fletcher Cox to a 1-year, $14 million deal and being so eager to do it is bad business. If you compare, like, Fletcher Cox, how he's performed over the past 2 seasons to the other defensive tackles who were available or who are still available, like, the list here, Jerron Reed. So Fletcher Cox is 30, 31. Jerron Reed, same age, still unsigned. William Golston, 31, still unsigned. Akeem Hicks, 33, still unsigned. Folorunso Fatukasi, who was like top 50 on Sheil's list, right? He's 27. He signed for $330, so $10 million a year. Let's see, what else? Harrison Phillips signs for $319.5. Obviously, he's not quite the same level of player. Sebastian Joseph Day, who everybody loved, signs for $324, $8 million a year. Dominican Sue, still unsigned. Daquan Jones signs for $214, $7 million a year. Bilal Nichols, still unsigned. All these guys, it's like...
Bilal Nichols went to the Raiders on a very team-friendly deal.
Okay. Yeah. Just like, it makes no sense, and it makes you think that there's some kind of handshake deal the way things went down here, where it was announced that like from the beginning they want him back, and there was no team statement or anything like that. I don't know exactly what the reason for that is, so that they could spread out the cap hit, but like. It's not like who else could you have signed for $14 million a year? You could have signed Marcus Williams. You could have signed multiple players and split that up. It makes no sense. So it's very bizarre. Go ahead, Sheil.
Well, yeah, I would say let's see what the actual contract details are. But even
fair.
if it's close to that, 11 or 12, it is still a very strange use of resources. I mean, he's 31 years old. He had 3.5 sacks, 12 QB hits, and 35 tackles last season. I would say during the season, there were games or quarters or possessions where you saw the vintage Fletcher Cox, where you said, all right, he's still got that. Look at him. He's ragdolling these guards, and he's blowing stuff up, and he's ruining opposing possessions. But that certainly was not there consistently. They did draft Milton Williams last year, who's one of the more promising young. It's not like you would just be empty there for a starter. He was one of the more promising players, young players on the roster. So you could give him more of an opportunity there. That might be my biggest issue, is you're maybe blocking some playing time for a younger player, because you have Milton Williams and Javon Hargrave. But you are right, Bo, about the contract compared to other defensive tackles. By my spreadsheet, unless I'm missing somebody, and I'm trying to keep track of all this, it's easily the most money handed out to an interior, to a defensive tackle, an interior defensive lineman in free agency. Now, it's just 1 year. So, yeah, if you say 3 years, 30 is more than 114. That's right. But as you mentioned, there were these pretty standout. A lot of those guys you mentioned are like nose tackles. They're kind of the big run stuffers. Some of them had a little bit of pass rush juice. They are different players than Fletcher Cox, but a lot of those guys who were around 27 years old, and they got 3 years, $30 million, 3 years, $24 million. So between $8 and $10 million. No one, the only guy who sniffed $14 million was Larry Ogunjobi with the Bears, and then he failed his physical, and so now he's out there on the free agent market once again. So I would imagine it's a max of $14 million, but still at the same time, it seems like a lot. I just don't understand. I mean, I don't understand the need to sign a 31-year-old to not say goodbye, when every offseason Howie Roseman saying you can't be sentimental. In the past I've made some mistakes because I really appreciate these players, and that's it's like criticizing yourself, but for something good type thing, I'm sure there's a Michael Scott gif or something with this, but he's
so what would you say your biggest weakness is? Well, I work too much. I care too hard.
Yeah. Right. So
I'm too much of a perfectionist.
Yeah. So that's what he said. Like you said, I mean, $14 million can be spent in a variety of different ways. You can take flyers on 3 young players for $4 to $5 million who you might not be sure about, but you might feel like have some potential. The cap carries over. I mean, I know it's going to spike next year, but it's not like you just lose that money if you don't spend it. It's not necessarily a position of need. So I am confused about why they did that, and I guess we'll see what they say next week at the owners' meetings.
And it's not like, this is not like a Jason Kelce situation. For whatever reason, like I don't feel like Fletcher Cox connects with the fan base in the same way. Like, did you feel like there was some outrage when the release was initially announced? Like, people were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense." Like, this has been coming for a while.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think people. I wouldn't say people don't connect with Fletcher Cox. I mean, he's probably been a part of some of their great memories as Eagles fans, and he has been a great player.
He's probably the best player on the team over the past decade.
I don't want to downplay what he's done, but yeah, it is different because Kelce was an All-Pro last year, and Fletcher Cox. I mean, if Fletcher Cox had 10.5 sacks last year, and we were just like, man, this guy's still got it, then go ahead, sign him to, keep him on the original contract or sign him for 1 year, $14 million. That to me was not the case. So I would agree with you there. I didn't sense anybody going, how could they do Fletcher Cox wrong like this? It was kind of like, thanks Fletcher Cox. It was a great run. I understand why the team's doing this.
And then Fletcher puts out the tweet like, oh, that was tough being unemployed for a couple of days. Like that joking tweet, which just makes me like think again that this whole thing was like prearranged. Like, I mean, the guy was like openly whining about the defense, about the scheme.
Right?
Year.
Yeah, it's not like he loved it. Yeah, it didn't seem like he
Right.
loved it. You know, they're not winning the Super Bowl this year. I don't see what the huge appeal is. I mean, he could have gone somewhere to really contend for a Super Bowl, get something new. I don't know. Maybe he likes it there for some reason, even if he doesn't like the scheme.
Yeah, I think he enjoys, playing for the Eagles. Right? It's the only team that he's played for in his career. I do think he values that. Clearly last year did not go well, but as Bo alluded to, the fact that there was no send-off, right? I mean, when Jason Avant got cut, when John Dornbos got traded, it was like, there's like farewell videos. The fact that the Eagles website had a Mike Garafolo tweet for the Fletcher Cox release made me think, all right, this is not just spin. This could happen. But I do think if I detach myself and think logically, I would agree from both sides. From Fletcher's side, I imagine he can go to a team where he can go to the Packers, or he could go to a team where you're a legitimate Super Bowl.
He can't get paid $14 million somewhere.
Well, and then from the Eagles' perspective, like, what's the are they? It didn't make much sense to me.
The whole thing is very confounding, and maybe we'll get some more insight into it, more clarity from the team. But it's still very bizarre. So following that, the Eagles finally added their second outside free agent yesterday, the addition of Pascal the Rascal, the man who lost in the finals of Quackatology. But we all knew that this was
good
coming.
Final Four, though, for us.
Very good Final
Four, right?
2 of the Final Four, and we'll see about Kaiser White. But this was, like the most hashtag as expected move that could have possibly been made. But give us some of the details, Zach.
A 1-year deal. We don't have the terms yet. He's a Nick Sirianni favorite. He's been a decent receiver. Like I don't want to oversell him or undersell him. He's fine. He's an upgrade over JJ Arcega-Whiteside. He's an upgrade in terms of production over what Jalen Reagor's provided you. He's what, 6'2", 214, good blocker, knows the scheme. So this is not Calvin Ridley.
I think two of us just yawned during the Pascal segment, which is very appropriate.
This is not Calvin Ridley. This is not Christian Kirk. This does not move the needle. If he's your fourth receiver, your third receiver, fine. This doesn't preclude you from drafting someone early. I still imagine they would draft someone early. I do think that they sought other avenues, but as we discussed on the last podcast, the Christian Kirk contract, the Zay Jones contract, I do think that kind of warped some of the wide receiver deals.
Well, what the Eagles have done here is very rational. It is unlikely that Zach Pascal is a number one receiver, but for them to sign him to a 1-year deal under the pretense that he might be and commit to that, the upside outweighs the downside of only committing to 1-year deal. Whereas if he is the number one receiver and they don't commit to him, that is a much bigger thing. So that is the Pascal's wager that Howie Roseman has made.
Okay. I see what you're doing there.
It took quite a while to get to it.
It is actually though, it's fine. It is obviously very unexciting. But our grades yesterday, I put out, I think it was like over the last 2 years, he's like 94th out of 105 receivers in yards per route run, which is obviously very bad. But both Greg Ward and Jalen Reagor are below him on that list, and those are the guys whose snaps he's taking. So it's an upgrade on their margins. It's fine. They needed to sign somebody before the draft so that you're not forced to overdraft a guy if the board doesn't fit. It's totally fine. They might do something else. He's there, hopefully, to be beaten out for the number 3 job, and he can be your wide receiver 4. You can move on from J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Nick Sirianni's happy. It's fine, but it's not exciting.
We don't know terms yet, right?
No, we don't know the terms yet. We'll get
those. Yeah. I would say fine, but boring. Like you said, he's 20. At least he's only 27. It's probably not going to be a lot of money. 2019 to 2020 had over 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. So 600 yards and 5 touchdowns for a number 2 wide receiver in this offense would be fine. And just get Arcega-Whiteside over there with the tight ends. How many times do I have to tell you? Get him over there with the tight ends. You don't need Dick Rod back in the mix.
There's an
I had more of an
honestly.
issue with the Anthony Harris signing than the Zach Pascal signing.
Well, we'll get there in a sec.
Okay.
Calm down. On Pascal, John McMullen made an
Do
interesting
another
point
20 minutes on Pascal.
this morning, which I thought which is a good point. Like, there's this overselling of like the impact that Zach Pascal can have on this young wide receiver room, like the lead by example, and he can like take a guy like Jalen Reagor to the next step. What does that say about Aaron Moorhead and the head coach, who's also a wide receiver specialist, that they need to bring in Zach Pascal to make those guys better?
Who has made- who
I
has
don't think
made
that's
that
why they did it.
argument.
Okay.
Who has made that
You think
argument?
that's a
Who's
straw
making
man?
that-
I think I've heard that.
You think
Really?
people are making that argument?
No, I think it's more that he knows the scheme, that he's someone who like
Zach
Sirianni likes.
Pascal's gonna come in, and not only is he gonna light it up, but he's gonna be a coach on the field and lift everybody around him. What are we talking about here?
Well, if you've got Pascal in the middle and Quez and Devontae on the
All
outside,
right,
what you
all
have is a little
right,
Pascal's
all right.
triangle.
All right. Can you let Zach has a big thing
All
to
right.
say about Anthony Harris.
Zach, you hate Anthony Harris. Let's
No,
hear it.
Edge of my seat here.
I don't dislike Anthony Harris at all. And frankly, when you look at the Kapadia top 150, it was a sensible signing. If you know, a lot of these safeties were starting to go off the board, we could argue they should have gone after someone earlier. That Whitehead contract, for instance, but
We don't know terms yet on how
no,
much
but
he's going to pay. Right?
but where I'm less enthused about it, if you will, is that I think this is a spot where you can just shuffle the deck, right? Like bring in someone different. Bring in, you saw, Anthony Harris is a fine player, and they can do much worse at safety than Anthony Harris from a football perspective, from someone who knows the scheme. He's respected in the locker room. I just think that's a spot where shuffle the deck. Give me someone different. Give me someone maybe younger with a little more upside. Just draw a different card there. There was nothing that I saw from that secondary last year that made me think run it back with the status quo. And so if you were bringing Rodney McLeod back as the third safety with Marcus Epps, and then you had a headliner in the group, okay. And maybe that's what they do with Harris. But if it's like Harris, Epps, and another mid-level guy, that underwhelms me.
Well, I totally agree with what you're saying, and this brings us into the conversation that the Eagles have seeded out there, that like this bringing back of all the guys is a reflection of the free agency period actually starting for them during the season when they re-signed all these guys.
Right,
We can get it, but like, Anthony Harris and Greg Ward and Boston Scott and all these guys coming back, like running it back with this team that eked into the playoffs and got embarrassed by the Bucks. Absolutely do something different. Like, I love Boston Scott. You can't just sign another running back. Like, you can't sign another wide receiver than Greg Ward. Like, bringing these guys back time and time again and expecting that is gonna, like, you're gonna get a boost from another year of those guys in the same system. Like, give me a break. Like, and maybe Anthony Harris, maybe they'll still sign another safety. Like, that's fine. But absolutely try something different, please.
ZB, tell me what are your thoughts on kind of the team's messaging and what we expect to hear from them in Florida next week. I do have something I want to.
Yeah,
I want to address all this, but I do kind of want to hear your, because I know you're like locked into that.
I want to address this too, because I do think it's worth spending 90 seconds on this.
We've got a long time. Let's do 90 minutes.
I kind of like how quickly we're moving along here.
No, I had a tweet on Saturday afternoon where I said something to note the Eagles view the players they resigned last year as part of this offseason's plan. And I saw I saw what our friend Brandon Lee Galton put out there, and I've gotten a lot of messages from Eagles fans. And I will say this, like, absolutely, if you're saying I was just passing on Eagles spin, yes, that's exactly what I was doing. That's why I wrote Eagles view.
Right, you framed it correctly.
I was not trying to suggest like this is my opinion, and I actually think it's problematic as a reporter if you're only going to pass on information that you agree with, right? Like if it needs to, if you have to believe what they're saying in order to tell the fans that, then that's a slippery slope. Now, where I should have done is I should have contextualized it right away. And I actually, and so I'm guilty as charged there. I followed up the next morning with my opinion, but I tend to view there are enough avenues, whether it's Birds with Friends, whether it's the analysis Bo and I do on The Athletic, where I can give my opinion. But yeah, I mean, I am going to pass on what I'm hearing from the team for this very reason, so we can discuss it, so fans can discuss it, and I don't think that's problematic. So guilty as charged if like you think that I'm just passing on what the team's saying. That's exactly how I framed it.
I agree with that. Yeah, you didn't do anything wrong. You said the Eagles' view. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to address that because I've gotten a number of messages about it. Like, this isn't a straw man. I've gotten.
I feel like there have been several moments of this conversation that have sounded like a viral Stephen A. Smith tweet. I want to address this issue, but sorry, go ahead, Sheil.
I mean, we could use some of Stephen A.'s energy and enthusiasm. I feel like. Well, why don't we take a break and then let's get into a bigger picture
on their
conversation.
Messaging?
Yeah, about why they care about this so much, and whether it's accurate and all that.
Okay.
All right. Relationships take work. A lot of us will drop anything to go help someone we care about. We'll go out of our way to treat other people well, but how often do we give ourselves the same treatment? Let's say that you are a head coach, and the demands of being an NFL head coach are very strenuous. How do you take care of yourself? Well, maybe you sign a wide receiver that you love more than anybody else in the entire world. Well, this month, BetterHelp Online Therapy is offering another way. They want to remind you to take care of your most important relationship, and that is the one you have with yourself. Whether it's hitting the gym, making time for your haircut, or even trying therapy, you are your greatest asset, so invest the time and effort into yourself like you do for other people. BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Give it a try and see why over 2 million people have used BetterHelp Online Therapy. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Birds with Friends listeners can get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/BWF. That's BetterHelp.com/BWF. During this great reshuffle, a record number of employees are considering switching jobs, so now is your chance to try to attract them. LinkedIn Jobs is here to help you connect with the people you want to interview faster and for free. This is not like some pickup artist deal where he's going to tell you to go peacock into the job boards so that people are attracted to you. No. This is professional help from the good folks at LinkedIn Jobs. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 770 million people. All of them Birds with Friends listeners. Then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to hire and interview, or interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs numero uno in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. Here's the call to action, everybody. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Not the candidates who you want to talk to faster. Like, well, why do you want to take this job? We want to hire you. No. There's a comma. So that the candidates that you want to talk to, comma, faster. So the whole process is quickened. Did you know that every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/BWF. That's linkedin.com/BWF to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, back on Birds. What are you laughing?
Tell LinkedIn I can do their ad read for the next episode. All right. Well, I just don't understand why they get annoyed. Why like the organization feels the need to like get the message out with stuff like this. Like, are they, this seems like they're separated from what it's like to be a fan. I mean, any fan of an NFL team, your team doesn't make a lot of moves in free agency. That's annoying. Sometimes it's a really exciting time. I'm not saying it's the right thing for the organization to do, but like, why the need to respond to this? Like, that's nonsense. I mean, teams extend their players all the time. I mean, that's an ongoing thing. You don't get credit for, teams extend their players and then they sign new players in free agency. This is how it works with every team. Like, you don't need to say, well, we extend our own guys. We viewed that. It's remember, Bo, I would make fun of the Sidney Jones thing back in, well, we really view Sidney as a part of this draft class. Get out of here with that. He is a part of the draft class. He was drafted in. If these guys hit free agency and then they signed them, then yes, they would be signed as free agents. That's not what happened.
You overwhelmed Bo with that argument.
Yeah, and Bo's out of here. They locked up their own players. Good for them. We've given them credit for that. We've said that Jordan Mailata signing is looking like, wow, what a team friendly deal that is. Even Josh Sweat. Even if you think he kind of wasn't consistent last year, I mean, that's still, I believe, what he got from the Eagles is less than what he would have gotten from the open market. So that's all fine. But you know what? Like, so first of all, I don't understand why like this type of thing annoys them or why they feel like they have to get out in front of it with this nonsense messaging. But number two, it goes to what I said in January, and that's that this franchise right now is stuck in the middle of the NFL with no easy path to get out of there. 2 games under 500 over the last 4 years. And this offseason looked into Russell Wilson, looked into Deshaun Watson, looked into Marcus Williams, 0 for 3. Player, I mean, listen, it's a small sample. All those instances are probably a little bit different. It might not say anything big about the organization. At the same time, those are 3 high-profile players who, I think they were interested in or would have been interested in that they really were never close to actually adding, or those players choose to go in another direction. So I can see why the fan base would kind of be annoyed by that. The Fletcher Cox thing we just mentioned. Anthony Harris. Again, there's nothing wrong with Anthony Harris. If it's, if it's like $2, $3, $4 million for a starting caliber player who's not going to kill you, that's perfectly fine. It's just very boring. It's very boring to bring Anthony Harris back and to sign Zach Pascal. And sometimes, as a fan, you want a little bit more juice in March when you're excited about NFL free agency. And every day there's something crazy going on in the NFL with a trade or a signing or something happening. And your team is not doing that. And it's not because they're smarter than all the other teams. And it's not because their roster is set. It's just because they're sort of stuck in this middle range where they're 19th in Super Bowl odds, and the quarterback position is a question mark, and you're not really sure what they're going to do here going forward, and you don't have confidence that in 2022 they're going to make some major leap forward, and you're not confident that in the offseason of 2023 they have this grand plan where they're going to be in the mix. I mean, this has been a long time. How many seasons do we give Howie Roseman, Zach? 11 seasons? I always get confused with the in and out. I mean, when do we say he actually got there? I know that, what was it, the one chip year that we don't attribute to him, or was it
2015? And then there's arguments for earlier on in his, when Joe Banner was there, who had final, Andy Reid had final say, but it's kind of fuzzy there.
So let's
certainly since like 2012, 2013, he's been
okay. So 10, 11 seasons, whatever you want to say. And I think Howie Roseman is kind of in the middle. Like, I don't think he's a terrible GM. I don't think he's a great GM. I think he's also somewhere in the middle. It's now been 11 seasons with an organization that prides itself on, we value the quarterback position. And, every time they sign a backup, they're bragging about no one values quarterbacks like we do. Well, it's been 11 seasons where you haven't found a sustained answer for a starting quarterback who's given you like multiple years of above average play. Now we can quibble with that a little bit with some of those years in there, but certainly you're not in a situation like the Chiefs are in now, like the Chargers are in now, like the Bills are in now, like the Bengals are in now. I mean, I can rattle off a quarter of the league who they're like, all right, we've got our quarterback for the next 6, 7, 8 years. We feel good about it. Let's build around him. That hasn't happened here. And so I just think those are some of the things that are frustrating to fans, is that they just feel in this sort of middle ground. They feel left out of all the excitement. excitement and they don't see a coherent plan going forward. That doesn't mean that the Zack Pascal signing and Anthony Harris signings are the worst signings in the world. And oh my gosh, everyone should be fired. Take them individually. Yeah, they're fine. It's no big deal. It's not going to sink them. It's not going to lift them. It's fine. But, I don't think they should be like trying to, I guess, calm the fan frustration or what they hear on WIP. Like, let the fans be frustrated about that and come up with a plan and move forward. Like, why are you even worried about that?
Yeah. So
that's
a
how
few
I
things
feel
there.
about it.
I mean, first off, well done. That was an epic, I don't want to say rant, but
I had time to go up
point.
and get my AirPods during that whole
spirited point.
And I was still going.
Look, I think that this offseason would look different if they were looking for a tight end or a left tackle or a defensive end. But the reason why they're in the situation they're in has less to do with the extensions that they gave out last year and more about the dead money hit that Alshon Jeffrey and Malik Jackson and Derek Barnett have on, that would be in excess of what, 14, 15 million that they'd have if they didn't have the dead money hit from those players. And that's all, I get it. That's all part of the way NFL contracts are structured. But the Eagles made a decision to give Alshon Jeffrey a contract that they're still paying for a few years later. They restructured Derek Barnett's contract in essence to open up cap space, right, for those extensions that they gave out. They structured Malik Jackson's contract the way they did, and they're still paying a price on that. So decisions that you make, they have ramifications, and you can't just say you can't just get credit for the good decisions. You also have to take it on the chin with some of the questionable decisions, and that's part of what they're in. The other thing I would say is that they haven't been sitting on their hands during free agency, right? They've been aggressive for some of these big names, and I know this is another discussion we're going to have in terms of the appeal of the Eagles or however you want to frame it. But the reality in free agency is that players have a choice. And sometimes that comes down to the contract. Sometimes that comes down to the destination. Sometimes that comes down to the roster. Sometimes that comes down to the coaching staff. There are a variety of factors that dictate whether a player signs with you or not. But this offseason is not like last year's offseason. Last year's offseason, the Eagles were acknowledging that they were not going to be players in the free agent market, that it was kind of a reset year. They don't have the money now that they had in, say, 2016. But Marcus Williams is someone they would have been interested in signing, right? Jay Glazer is rock solid on everything he reports. Says, the Eagles were going after Calvin Ridley and thought they had a deal. So the narrative of this Eagles offseason would be different if some of these moves turned out differently. And that's the way free agency works. And the other thing I will add because I don't want to monopolize this is sometimes the best decisions are those that don't work out for you. Byron Jones, if you think 2 years ago, the Eagles really wanted Byron Jones and they couldn't sign Byron Jones, and they pivoted. They signed Javon Hargrave. They traded picks for Darius Slay. We can argue whether they should have made that Slay trade, but they're probably in a better position now. I mean, if you remove what the picks were, having Hargrave and Slay, than if all that money had gone to Byron Jones. So my point being that just, there's always plan A's, plan B's, plan C's. And what's happened to the Eagles now, yeah, they did a good job extending those guys. They got them at prices. I believe at least 3 of those contracts are better than what they would have had to sign them for this offseason. And you can factor that into your overall offseason plans. But there are other factors at play here that cannot be dismissed.
And I would say 2 things. One, to Sheil's point of why are they worried about this? I do think we should say that there are people in the building whose job it is to worry about that and to try to massage that conversation however they can. But what you're saying, Zach, is absolutely right. The distraction element here is not we feel good about what we did during the season and that's why we haven't done anything. It's let's talk about this so we don't talk about everyone we tried to sign and missed out on. That's what the story is, and that's a story that they're trying to distract from. So I think that's right.
Yeah, no, those were the key points that you made, Zach, that I did not mention. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you've been trying to sign people. You're not just, we are not in position to sign anybody because we extended these guys and that's what we feel good about. No, you tried to add to the roster and you were not able to do that. Again, it doesn't mean, like you said, I mean, a lot of times the guys who get signed the first 48 hours of free agency, those end up being terrible moves that the teams regret. And, that's the nature of free agency. I mean, the best players generally don't get to free agency. Very good players do sometimes. You have to be selective. You've got to make good evaluations. But I just understand if you're a fan going, is this team going to be any better than they were last year when they were 9-8 and stuck into the playoffs? And if not, why not? Because that would be the 5th straight year where they've been pretty much mediocre or worse. And what's the plan here? I mean, what are they going to do to make that not the case? If you grew up during the Donovan McNabb, Andy Reid eras where, I mean, those years, if you didn't sign anybody, I mean, they were aggressive at times, but it was like, okay, that's cool. You're still going to win the division next year and win 11 games. We'll see everybody in the divisional round for an extended period of time. I mean, that's where you want to be. And that is not where they're at right now for sure.
Well, I think that's an interesting framing because how is this team going to be better next year than they were last year? I mean, you're hoping for instant impact from this draft class. They you sort of need that. And listen, they've done a great job accumulating draft capital for this year. So they've got 3 first-round picks. That's great. Let's see how quickly those guys can make an impact. But other than that, Hassan Reddick is going to be an improvement as a
we didn't mention Reddick. We probably should have at least yes. Well, I mean, we already did a Reddick pod. That's why I don't want it to sound skewed. I think we all agreed Hassan Reddick was a great signing. Smart signing, good young ascending player at a premium position. So anyway, sorry to cut you off.
But the secondary going to be better? I mean, Darius Slay's older. He might take a step back. The safety situation, who knows what's going on there? Linebacker, they haven't done a single thing. The offensive line might be about the same. It might be take a step back. Wide receiver, okay, Zach Pascal, great. We'll see what happens. But you're hoping for Jalen Hurts to take a real step, and you're hoping for the draft class to make an impact. Otherwise, there's really not much of a path to see them, making a leap into competing for a playoff, a home playoff game, right?
I mean, a top 50 player on your board should be considered, a day one contributor. And the Eagles have 4 top 50 picks. They have 5 picks in the top 100. So there is ample opportunity. Now we don't know if they're going to draft if they're going to use all those picks. But my guess is that they're counting on this draft producing players who are going to help. In particular, this defense day one.
Well, and also last year's draft class was really good, and you can expect if Devontae Smith gets even better, that's great. If Landon Dickerson gets even better, that's great. If Milton Williams takes a step, that's great. There is reason to believe that they're going to be better, but from a roster construction standpoint, that it seems like that's basically what you've got is you're hoping for improvement from the young guys, which is fine.
Yeah, I think sometimes, I mean, with rookies, it is hard. I mean, you look at it and say, yeah, they should come in and be really good right away. Sometimes that happens. I think probably more, the percentages are probably against you there, even with those top 50 picks that a guy's going to come in and be a difference maker. I mean, contributor, you framed it correctly, contributor, get playing time. That's right. But I don't know that, occasionally, sometimes it's somebody who makes a difference right away. Sometimes you go through the natural growing pains here. I mean, the Eagles as a destination, I know you guys talked about this in the live room. I thought that was a good discussion. There are various factors that go into it. Obviously, money is always going to be, or usually going to be, the biggest one, where players want to live. I feel like generally, if those things are pretty even, a lot of times it just comes back to the quarterback, and does he give us a chance to win a Super Bowl? I do think professional athletes do want to win. And the head coach, is this somebody who can lead us to a Super Bowl, somebody I want to play for? And so right now they're on sort of this in-between ground at quarterback. Certainly if you're a wide receiver, would you want to come into this offense and say, yeah, that's my best opportunity, unless they're paying you more money? If the money's similar to somewhere else, I mean, this wouldn't be the most attractive destination. And head coach, I think Nick Sirianni did a good job in his first season. I think a lot of these free agents probably have no idea who Nick Sirianni even is. If they were sitting next to him, they'd be like, hey, you work in the NFL. And so it's just a different situation. I mean, again, that's not his fault or anything he's done. It's just you hired kind of an unknown guy, and that's fine. And he did a good job in year one. I would say he's one of the more encouraging aspects of the team is what he did there as the head coach in year one. And we'll see, that could just take another year, another 2 years. But I mean, we remember, not to keep bringing it back to Andy Reid, but there were a lot of times where players would say, Andy Reid and Donovan McNabb were the reasons why they wanted to join the Eagles, because they felt like they were knocking on the door. I mean, you're seeing stuff like that. Von Miller signed with the Bills, and he mentions Josh Allen. Again, I understand money is the number one factor most of the time, but if it's close, there are those other factors. I think they do matter.
I would say most free agents who are on the market for the first time, right? So second contract players, which are the players you're usually targeting, money's going to be the reason they sign at place X compared to place Y.
That is their chance to get their one big contract. Yes.
I mean, the reason why Jacksonville signed the guys that they did had a lot to do with the contracts that they gave out. It's not like everyone's saying, I want to go play for Doug Peterson, right? Now, to Sheil's point,
Zay Jones took a discount.
Yes, yeah. In particular, veterans, guys who are kind of on their, maybe their last contract or they're either ring chasing or going to a place where they're playing meaningful football. And then the other thing you often see is location matters. There's a reason why in the NBA players want to go to Los Angeles or Houston, right? And you see that in the NFL as well sometimes. But I don't think the Eagles are as attractive of a destination spot now as they were in 2017 when they were coming off a Super Bowl, right?
Or as they hoped, or as they, I think as they think they are in their mind. I think there's a bit of a blow to the ego for them.
But I hope I'm not like knocking down a straw man argument here. I don't think this is like people don't want to come here because of Howie Roseman or something, or the fans or something like that, right? I think this is a better,
but if you're a wide receiver, you're not going to sign a 1-year deal to rebuild your value in this offense.
Right? And to your point, Alshon Jeffrey signed here on a 1-year deal in 2017, and part of the reason he said he signed here was because he was intrigued by Carson Wentz as the quarterback.
I'm intrigued by Carson Wentz as the quarterback.
He said in his press conference he thinks Carson Wentz could be the MVP, and Carson Wentz had an MVP caliber year that year, right? So, so I think that's often a factor. And as we saw in the Deshaun Watson situation, right? Like guaranteed money is the most powerful inducer of all.
I'm going to stay away from the Deshaun Watson conversation for the for the sake of the extended Birds with Friends universe. Did you guys touch on Howie Roseman's contract extension?
We did not.
While I stepped out. What did you guys make of that?
We talked about Howie Roseman. I don't think it's like a big deal either way. I thought last offseason, if there were a time to make a natural break and say we want to go in a different direction, it would have seemed like for Jeffrey Lurie last offseason would have been that time. You were parting with Doug Peterson. You were coming off a terrible season. You had no option at quarterback. If you felt like, hey, it's time for a change, it's been a good run, that would have been the time. He didn't do that. He's comfortable with Howie Roseman. And, as you guys mentioned in the live room, I'm showing you that I listened to the live room. I deserve a little credit for that, I feel like. But I thought the callers were good. I thought you had some good Philadelphia area accents in there that I'm sure people enjoyed. But like you said, if like Howie Roseman's contract is not going, this isn't like dead cap hits or anything. Like when you want to move on from an executive or a coach, you move on from the executive or coach. Right. Like you could do that whenever you want. So I didn't think that was really a, big deal either way. I didn't think they were going to part ways with him this offseason. And so he's going to be around until Jeffrey Lurie doesn't.
You wouldn't want a GM on a lame duck contract anyway. You want him thinking long-term. So incentivize him to do so. That's totally reasonable.
Yeah.
Now, one point I did want to make that was not on the rundown, but we can devote a quick period to it. And this has to do with Sheil's rankings too. But you can often tell like the way the league thinks about your team based on how in demand your players are on the open market. And it is kind of telling to me that like the only player from the Eagles who's got an interest elsewhere is Hassan Ridgeway.
Yeah.
Right now, I mean, I don't want to say that like teams aren't talking about Derek Barnett, right?
Good point.
But if there's ever a sign that either the Eagles overachieved last year or that like they're not as talented as the league might think, their players are not priority players elsewhere.
Great.
It is a good point. And it's
point.
also wrapped in the same point of why are we still bringing back all the same guys?
Yeah, good point.
Like the same low-level guys.
Yeah, who were the restricted guys that they didn't?
Well, actually, Alex Singleton did.
Alex
sign with the
Singleton signed with
Broncos.
Denver.
Okay.
That's right. Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Sorry about that, Brandon.
Alex
one, yeah.
Singleton, Hassan Ridgeway. I believe both contracts under $3 million per year. Derek Barnett doesn't have a lot of interest. Rodney McLeod, we haven't seen him.
I wonder what's going to happen with Barnett. I mean, I think a reunion is very possible.
What would be the point of that?
They need somebody to play snaps and like.
They've got people. They got 3 people to play snaps, and then they have the draft.
Well, maybe Hassan Reddick's going to be playing linebacker for the first 2 downs.
But I mean, like Anthony Harris was on the market.
He should go to San Francisco. Is where he should go. But
Anthony Harris was on the market for
Derek Barnett.
Yeah.
Anthony Harris was on the market for a few days before the Eagles re-sign him to a 1-year deal. Usually, when the money's not out there early on, it says something. Boston Scott had a chance to survey the market, came back to the Eagles on a low deal. Steve Nelson was the starting cornerback for the Eagles, hasn't signed anywhere yet. So
That reminds me. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think this probably says something about maybe the quality of the Eagles roster last year relative to their record.
Good point. Jonathan Gannon should be delivering that message out there.
just to fully stay on.
Maybe I'm
brand,
delivering it for him.
He'll be like, stop killing me, Kapadia. Yeah. Listen to your co-host.
The Steven Nelson mention reminded me that I have to stay on brand and mention that Zach Pascal was vocally anti-vax with the Colts. So just to put that out there, just so everybody has the full context.
Okay.
As listeners.
Thank you for that.
All right. Are we done with football discussion? We can move on to the good stuff.
Sure.
Do we? I mean, what do you think we're going to get some more fireworks this week?
I mean, I don't know what fireworks mean.
Sign a linebacker, sign a safety.
Yeah, I think they'll continue looking at the second wave here. I'm looking at Sheil sent us a rundown, by the way.
I think we've got all the football topics.
The only football talk we haven't hit on is the lingering quarterback question. And I feel
I think I was trying to hit on that in my rant. I have nothing.
Yeah, that's what I figured. That was
been 11 years
exactly.
without finding an answer to it.
All right, so we're good then. We're good with football.
Okay, Sheil, you have an athleisure.
Oh yeah. So I had to get I had a doctor's appointment, got a little, the ongoing right side from the knee to the glute to the hip, tightness, strain, whatever it is. So they ordered an x-ray. And so, you go in to have the x-ray and she says like, so I was wearing these pants. They're sort of like these in-between pants, they're like, joggers, but not like kind of like a dressier jogger. Like, you could wear them out and, feel okay.
Not a capri. It's a different kind of in-between pant.
A capri. No, not a capri. So, I go in there and the x-ray technician is asking, cause my shirt's covering like the waistband of the pant. And she says like, what kind are those, like sweatpants? What kind of pants are those? And I'm like, oh yeah, they're just elastic. And she's like, oh, okay. So you don't have to like change your pants to get the x-ray. So then, I get there to go take the x-ray and she goes, those pants have a button and a zipper. So she's like, you got to change. And I'm thinking, she's thinking, what kind of man doesn't even know what kind of pants he's wearing when I like asked him the question. And so I had to change out of the pants. So this sort of in-between range we're in with some of these pants can get you into some tricky situations, I feel.
You're trendy. I think you need a trendier x-ray place though.
I mean, she may have asked me, I don't know if she asked, she might have asked me like, are those sweatpants? Do they have a button or whatever? And I just go, they're sweatpants. And she's got to be like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? He doesn't know what kind of pants he's wearing. So then I had to change it to those x-ray shorts. You ever put on those x-ray shorts?
No.
I have not.
No, I feel like they're in the family of the robe, kind of. You know,
Interesting.
Lot-
Because a
a
lot,
lot
of
of
reuse?
room on those bad boys. I mean, yeah, very
okay.
roomy. If you don't want to go robe, but you still want something that's very roomy, while
Did
you're
you
on
feel
vacation,
like-
maybe pick
did you-
up. I thought maybe they could sell some of those extra.
Did you feel like they were freshly cleaned?
Oh yeah, I think you throw them out after. They're like disposable.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I
That's
gotta
what my
say, when you sent on the rundown the phrase X-ray shorts, I was a little bit worried about what you were.
I
Where your
put
head
them
was
on.
at.
I thought it was kind of comfortable. Yeah, I thought maybe these could be sold. Enterprise and company out there, look into those. I can't
Okay,
imagine they're that hard to manufacture.
So what was the
You-
results?
The result
I think they were
is
both there. Sorry, go.
what? It's just, not everything looks fine from an X-ray perspective.
That's good.
Bo is dying over here. Can't stop himself from laughing.
It was a good
All
joke. All right. What about your review of your trip to ABP? Because I have some thoughts on this. Your Vietnamese iced coffee and your banh mi.
Oh yeah. Well, of course they. What's the name of the place, Bo?
Artisan Boulanger Patisserie.
Okay, there's like a South Philly staple, right? But
Yeah.
then they opened a location in Media, I believe.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought you went to South Philly.
No, the owners had some serious health issues, I believe.
Yes.
Right, and so they shut it down. But now they opened the location in Media that I think is still family run. But and then are they reopening their location in South Philly, or is it already reopened?
I
think it's
so,
reopening.
but I'm not. Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, I thought it was great. A nice local spot to give some of your money to. Fantastic. You've been telling me for years you wanted to take me to get
Yes.
a banh mi. The place was closed. You wanted to take me to get a banh mi, so I had to get a banh mi on my own. I thought it was great.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
like years in the making. Like
Mm,
I want
yeah.
to say 2018. You tried to take me there for my birthday. Speaking of birthdays, they
Oh.
were closed.
June 11th, it's Bo's birthday.
That's right. you want to make sure that both of our identities get stolen.
Yeah, let me write that down.
Love an ABP. It's the best.
I never had a
Uh,
Vietnamese coffee before.
What did you think?
What do they put in there? At a
It's
Vietnamese
condensed
iced
milk.
coffee.
Condensed milk. Yeah.
Is that
Condensed milk.
sugary? What's
Yeah.
the sugar? Yeah, a
It's
lot of
the-
sugar
it's the
in the condensed milk.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
but it's not. It's good.
I liked it. I felt like I could take on the world after it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good stuff.
All right.
You liked your tofu banh mi?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think banh mi is like arguably my number one sandwich. So it's bad.
Really?
I think that's an exaggeration there.
So good.
There's better sandwiches than I like a banh mi, but I mean,
I don't even know what that is, to be fully honest.
it's a Vietnamese sandwich. It's if you get it from like there's a place I think it's called QT, right by the old Inquirer office that I used to go to. That's a good spot.
I like the presentation of a banh mi
Mm-hmm.
and the experience of a
colorful.
banh mi. I would agree with Zach. I probably would not be willing to put it on top of the sandwich rankings.
Okay. I mean, you guys have
All right.
bad rankings. I have better rankings than you. That's
Okay.
totally fine.
What else we got?
You wanted to get into people online wanting you to like
Oh,
something
yeah.
that you don't like.
This is
Or care
segment.
about something.
Yeah.
This is a segment. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think we can make this a regular segment. You guys can
Okay.
participate with your own, or it could be a one-time thing if it completely bombs. But I don't need people telling me to be interested or care about the following things. I'll go one by one with them. By the way, it's not me saying you shouldn't be interested. If you're interested in them, fine. But stop telling me I need to get interested in them. Number one on the list has to be F1. I mean, what's going on here? Are you guys doing the F1?
No.
I am not, but I hear it. I didn't watch the show on Netflix, but I hear that show gets you really into it, and it's the type. I see it in our Slack channel. There's discussion about.
But But I would say I don't see a lot of people telling me that I need to care about.
Oh,
F1.
really?
It's just
I feel like
people,
this is
like just tweeting about it.
Yeah, I feel like it's very trendy. If you don't know what's going on there, maybe you might feel a little left out. By the way, people are still mentioning City of God. You guys got to get caught up on your Birds with Friends listing. I mean, I'm not going to respond to that anymore. If you're not going to listen to every minute of every episode and then try to take me to task for City of God, that's on you. That's not on me. I've had that with City of God.
I'll defend our commenter here. I think she's saying that this was something that you were told to care about that you didn't care about.
Okay, sorry. I went a little overboard. All right. Rich Poppy says he's an F1 guy from way back, so he's an F1 hipster.
Big flex.
Okay.
Hipster.
All right.
Okay.
All right, so that was one. Number 2, the Utah Jazz. Okay. Every NBA season, I have to have the the NBA podcasters and hipsters tell me about how the Utah Jazz is this year. Oh my gosh, look at how they're playing. This is amazing. That's like the start of the NBA season for me. It's sometime in January or February where someone's telling me I have to care about the Utah Jazz. I don't care about the Utah Jazz. I've never cared about the Utah Jazz, and I will never care about the Utah Jazz unless they're actually a relevant basketball team.
I don't think that's the team this year, though. That
not
is
this year, but this has been like a 5-year thing.
Yeah. So I was
giving the Utah Jazz heat on this podcast years ago, I feel.
So there are two. Yeah. So there are two things that the true NBA fans will try to measure you with this year.
Oh, I like that.
And that
what
is,
do you got?
That's the Cleveland Cavaliers. You really got to like what the Cavs did here. I mean, obviously Mobley's a real good player. Jared Allen's playing at an all-star level, but Darius Garland's playing at an all-star level. But that's the other thing. And then Ja Morant. All right, we all know about Ja Morant, but Ja Morant's taking the leap this year, and it's if you give Ja Morant intel, it's like you're watching Grizzlies games. B, you're not just focused on the big, you're really plugged in when you talk Ja Morant.
I've got one more NBA one. Actually, it was number 3 on my list. Bam Adebayo. I mean, listen, I don't need to care. I don't, good. That's fine. You enjoy Bam Adebayo. That's fine. I don't need to make Bam Adebayo appointment viewing for me. And you telling me over and over again how much I should love Bam. I disagree. I've never sat down and been like, oh my gosh, I'm glad I'm watching Bam Adebayo tonight.
He can guard 1 through 5, basically.
That's fine. That doesn't excite me. It doesn't. Now, the last one now, Mercy might have to do some editing here. I'm not sure how we're overlords. Mercy got very serious. It's going to be okay. I'm not Bo here.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
How much we're get censored here. But, and again, I'm not telling you not to do it. I just don't need to hear about it anymore. Wordle. I mean, if I don't want to do Wordle, can you guys just have your own community? You discuss Wordle? Bo, what are your thoughts? You're a Wordle guy.
I do a Wordle. I do a Wordle,
my wife
too.
likes
I do a
Wordle.
Quirtle. It's good.
It's great.
I talk about it with my wife, and that's about it. I'm not tweeting about it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
I have great respect for Wordle and all those who run Wordle and all those who acquired Wordle.
Somewhere in an alternate universe, there is Jimmy Haslam is doing this podcast, and he's talking about, I don't understand why people are telling me I need to care about women.
All right. So what do you think? Is this a good segment? Are we going to bring this
I like
one
the
back?
segment.
Wordle.
I like the segment. Wordle.
All right. One of you, if one of you wants to take it next time, feel free. Just stop telling me I should care about these things.
And you also wanted to go on the we got some dynamite research on the background between new Colts quarterback Matt Ryan and a young fantastic baseball player.
So great research there. I wish I had the name of the user in front of me.
Oh, I'll pull it up.
Okay, thank you. Terrific research, and this lends me to believe that Matt Ryan did not strike me out, and then I struck out the next year when we played against Penn Charter, because there is no way that our coaches would have put me in a 5-3 game against Penn Charter. What if
somebody got hurt?
We had other guys. We were a really good team. There is no way.
Lots of guys got hurt.
So now,
what if they were trying to draw a walk?
I did draw walks, but no, our team was really good. They would not have put me in a 5-3 game. I don't have the original pod from 2019, But I imagine if we went back to one of those training camp podcasts and we talked about Matt Ryan, I probably said I played against him in baseball, and he pitched against us. And then I might have said he might have, because I did strike out against Penn
skirting responsibility.
But no, so
memory is a finicky thing.
Yeah,
it's not your fault. Doesn't mean you lied.
I struck out against Penn Charter in I thought it was my junior year. It was probably my senior year based on the results. Someone sent me something that we beat them 14-0 the following year. We beat a lot of teams 14-0 the following year, but that's probably the game.
We beat
that
the Bronx School of Law and Government 40-0 in 2.5 innings. They had to call the game. You got to hit lefty.
There you go. So my guess is Matt Ryan did not strike me at that. I shouldn't frame it that way. My guess is I did not step to the plate against Matt Ryan.
I like the first way. Matt Ryan never struck you out, despite your teams playing against each other, despite you being around the same age. He may have wanted to. He may have tried, but all I hear is Matt Ryan never struck you out.
But I probably did. I mean, based on that research, I did, 3 handshake lines with Matt Ryan that year, right? So would you
go dap, bro hug? What'd you go for? Handshake?
I was always.
How did his hands compare to Kenny Pickett's?
Couldn't tell you. It's a good question. I think I used to do handshake.
You think Kenny Pickett ordered sliders at dinner with the Eagles last night or 2 nights ago, just to make his hands look bigger?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It was Elvin Chris on Twitter for the research. So shout out to him. Yes.
And he also found the team photo, which I mean, unbelievable. Zach's high school nickname. We got to get to the bottom of this. Zach, the Professor Berman, and here we are years later, and he is actually an actual professor.
I think the joke there was I think I wore glasses sometimes, and I would make the joke that I was like Dom DiMaggio, who was nicknamed the Professor, because Dom DiMaggio used to wear glasses when he played center field. So there were like a few.
I thought it was because of your handles on the basketball court.
The Professor?
Yeah, remember the Professor? From And One?
Was that like an And One mixtape? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I assume that's what it is, but that's one of those things I gotta get on the high school text thread to find out why that nickname appeared there, because I had other nicknames back then. But
you can just invite them on the pod, Zach.
Yep.
A few of them listen. They'd be happy to come
open
on.
Invitation.
They'd be happy to come on. Yeah. But I think Bo would feel bad not being the best athlete on the pod anymore. So
never happened. I mean, we can have Chris Long on, and I'll still take the cake. Sheil's boy. Marissa, did you have any like thoughts that you wanted to get off your chest on our discussion of the wedding?
I'm glad you guys ate a lot. I did try and warn you about the desserts.
You did. That's why we stayed.
Yeah. I actually didn't get to eat any of them myself. Yes. I will say meeting your wives was wonderful. They are all amazing, and I'm so glad that they were there as well. Did you? I did.
What if you were like, that was my mistress? All right.
Then they would have been escorted out. No. What else?
I did. It was nice to talk to your mom and for her to say that I was her favorite.
My mom like casually will be like, "Tell Bo I said cute." After one comment. Whenever I tell a story, that's what she chimes in with.
That's good.
Now, was there any behind the scenes drama? Yeah. Was there, that we don't know about, like the MC the DJ not playing the song that someone requested, or someone not getting there
come through
on time? I mean,
no,
I was giving the rabbi a lot of love. I mean, Zebra, said he was just bringing his regular material to a wedding. I thought that was a little bit inappropriate. I thought that the MC could definitely go for some like in stadium entertainment. If the Brooklyn Nets or something. That's what I want to know. Did you
guys like our bridal party introductions? Is that
I liked everything about that.
Yeah, outstanding.
Awesome.
So instead of just like the bridal party being introduced and doing a little dance, we did them like sports themed because
it was nice.
Why not? So each person had a line. So like my cousin had a line about has the most Amazon packages, and then they're like Megan Mallet.
Yeah, I like that. That's what I thought. It was like, this guy must, he's taking a break.
So Michael and I actually
Barclays.
wrote all of them.
Okay.
And so that was a nice touch, I thought. That was like very fitting to us. I want to know, well, I'm going to have to totally do this and Michael will be very mad at me, but took Michael 2 stomps on the glass during the ceremony to actually break the glass. And so maybe that would be probably the biggest hiccup of the day because he was very embarrassed. He practiced. He had a practice glass where he stepped on
he's not
it.
that strong,
Yeah. So looking back at all like the videos and stuff when everyone's like Mazel Tov.
No, I told you this
2
was him
stomps.
finishing the block. It's like you don't.
Yeah,
just
I
block
didn't
the
think.
guy.
I thought
You
it
gotta
was.
take
Yeah,
him
I
to the
didn't notice
ground.
anything out
You
of the
gotta
norm.
finish
He
that
was
bad
quick
boy.
with the second stomp.
He's still a little upset about that. But honestly, the biggest like upset of the night was the fact that he was able to get lifted on the chair. I
that was
honestly
good.
didn't think that was going to happen. We bought special chairs for that to hold him, hopefully. And I was honestly terrified that like the chair was going to break, he was going to fall, he was going to get hurt, he was going to crush somebody. I was very, very fearful of that. And
I thought Zach did a great job lifting him up.
Yep.
It was all Zach was the only one. It was a one-man show.
Yeah,
he did a great job. Now, how much discussion did you guys have about Zach's faux pas on the egress of the recessional?
In Zach's defense,
That's why you're my favorite producer.
I have 21 first cousins, and they have half of them are married at this point, and then I have my aunts and uncles. So my mom is one of 6. So all of my mom's side of the family was told to stay in the ceremony space because we were taking a family photo after the ceremony. So like no one would get in line for sliders and we would lose them forever for the rest of the night. Because I know how my family works. They'd be like, you know what? I'm in the food line. It's all right. I'll miss the photo. So I told everybody, do not go to the cocktail hour. Stay there. We're taking a photo for 5 minutes. And that's that. So in Zach's defense, there was probably people not moving out of the to flow out of
the only
That's
defense I need
That's generous.
is that
so
the people in front of us, we follow the people in front of us. You follow the rule.
Yeah,
you follow
it makes
the path.
sense. Like I
we didn't do that.
We heard rave reviews about the cocktail hour. Michael and I didn't actually make it to the cocktail hour because we were doing other things and taking pictures and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm glad that you rushed there, Zach, because I heard the food was great. So you gotta.
It's not that we rushed there. We follow the people in front of us.
Let's go. We gotta go.
We were not sitting on the end. We were sitting a few seats in, and we followed the people in front of us. I could just tell you, I don't think this text thread is on the record, but Emily is watching, and she is very perturbed by the characterization here made by Bo. So yes.
No, Emily was not at fault. I think you were the only one at fault.
But no, Marissa, you throw an outstanding wedding.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm honestly
So I thought you were
very
going to say
sad
look forward
it's
to the next
over.
one.
Me too. Can't wait to do it again.
I was just
over, but I'm glad the planning part is over. To be fully honest, these past few months during football season and trying to plan a wedding and was a little stressful. So happy to put that on the back burner.
But if you know anyone who's having a wedding at that venue and is interested in inviting me as like a crasher just for the dessert part, sign me up for that. Yes.
I know. So we got, I feel comfortable saying we got married at the Shadowbrook at Shrewsbury in Shrewsbury, New Jersey. And they were absolutely amazing. So any engaged couples out there looking at venues, I would highly recommend it. It was and the service, the staff made my day so perfect. So grateful for them.
I
and
believe
your vows, you killed it with your vows.
Oh, thanks. Were mine better than Michael? Let's be honest. No.
Yes.
We love all our we love all our vowers the same. Yeah. Same venue, I believe, as Gabe Bevilacqua, Bounty Bowl.
Yeah, Bounty Bowl.
DFOP. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's getting married there?
He did get married there.
Oh, okay.
Apparently very popular venue.
Yeah.
Among the New Jersey, what would you say?
It was hard to book a
aristocrats
weekend.
would be to the who's who.
The hoi polloi.
I don't know. All right.
It was great
So, yeah.
though. It was the perfect day. I'm very grateful you guys were there and to your wonderful wives, and it was so much fun. So thank you for being part of our day. It was awesome.
Thank you for including us.
Thank you. Wonderful time. All right. I guess that'll do it for this episode of Birds with Friends. We will be back, I think, for an emergency pod when the Eagles re-sign Rodney McLeod or, I don't know, like release and then re-sign J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, do something weird like that. We'll be all over it. Otherwise,
are we doing a live pod from Florida next week?
I think we should. We're all going to be in the same place. We'll all be at the owners' meetings. I feel like that's an appropriate thing to do. So we'll figure that out as well. And if we don't talk to you before then, we'll talk to you then. For Elijah and Michael and Zach and Sheil and Kent and me, and most of all for Marissa Dunn, thanks for listening. And as always, we love you.